Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be looking at EX, Serena, and Delphox. This character released probably going on 4 years ago at this point. No, this game is 4 years old. I'm an idiot. About 3.5 years? Maybe. 2.5? I don't know, something like that. Either way, this character's released quite old, honestly. Pretty old character here, but she can still have a lot of good uses here. Mostly because of her Hypnosis spam. Hypnosis plus Go Viral here, plus her accuracy buffs on her trainer move, and she can do a lot. She does have some flaws now that are more apparent now that she has aged, right? But back on release, I'm pretty sure she was the best sync pair in the game. I believe. I could be wrong about that, but, you know, that's probably, what, 2 times now that a Serena sync pair has released and has been the best unit in the game? The second time, I guess, being Serena and Zygarde. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and hop into some battles and see what this Serena is capable of doing about 2.5-ish years later. Alright, so here we are versus Grimsley, and we've got Serena Morty as well as Sawyer. I hate doing these double support setups just because I think it's pretty inefficient, or ineffective rather. And I kind of could have replaced Sawyer with someone else, but I wanted to more so focus on Serena here. And we need crit buffs, right? Because Signature Morty with his crit buffs, they're not bad, but he's got to set Sun, he's got to do crit buffs, and all of that. So it's really just better to bring another crit support. And sadly, Serena cannot buff her crit by herself, which is one of her bigger problems, right? So this one mostly focuses on trying to build up to Serena's nuke, so that's why we went for the trap. I don't think she doesn't have anything with trap related to her nuke, but it is for her DPS with overheat and whatnot. So we do try and make full use of that. Mostly just go for the potions stuff with Morty. Really, with Serena here, her big thing is like spamming Hypnosis, and you'll see that in the next battle. Good, solid damage, by the way, for your first nuke, right? Like 10,000 damage. That's not too bad for a pretty old character, nonetheless. Go for the overheat, about 4,200 damage, also pretty good. Then we go for the Hypnosis, which obviously we didn't queue it up in time, but hey, it doesn't really affect us too much, really. So we go ahead, go for the Hypnosis here, and I'm pretty sure we go for an overheat. Yeah, just for some damage. Probably could have focused on the sides for this, or maybe given them trap or something, but I just didn't. So at this point, I just go ahead and I go for the Hypnosis to try and put the Sharpedo back to sleep, and just keep it asleep. And then we go ahead and go for the nuke. And does pretty good damage, right? Obviously. And then we try and attack the sides. The sides are not really a problem, so to speak, but not really the most effective thing? I don't know. Basically, you take that Earthquake, which is fine, and then you pretty much just use Hypnosis. That's pretty much all you do. That's why I was queuing up moves with everyone else and then queuing up that Hypnosis, so I can make sure the Tyranitar was awake by the time I used the Hypnosis again, so I can go ahead and just put it to sleep. So there we go, as you can see here. Go over the Hypnosis, and she is now asleep. And then we go ahead and just start spamming Overheat, because once we are able to attack that Tyranitar and just take it out, we'll be able to use our nuke on the Crocodile over there, and since Serena's only nuke multipliers are related to sleep, it's a full-powered nuke, just without Sun, right? So we go ahead, just nuke them, and take them out here. Big thing with Serena is her biggest thing is that she wants a lot of multipliers. She wants Trap for DPS, she wants Sleep for Sync and DPS, and then she wants to actually use her DPS, which is over here, right? But considering she's going to be your main Sleep setter, you're not going to get many chances to use Overheat. Like, as you saw in that battle, I mostly just had to kind of play around using Overheat. I did have Stationary Target 5, but of course I couldn't really use the trap setting, except for on the middle, mostly on the sides. I couldn't really use the trap setting, so I just kind of had to go for the damage with Overheat, right? Mostly because you can't really focus on doing too many things with Serena, because the sleep will just end up wearing out and it could really screw you over, right? Sawyer, pretty solid for buffing Serena's special attack up to +5, and then buffing her crit as well, which is definitely necessary. Otherwise, we would have had one hell of a time. Anyway, yeah, that was the battle versus Grimsley. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Alrighty, we are versus Electric Weak Caitlyn. We've got ourselves Sigma Suit Red as well as Professor Sycamore. So, biggest thing with this setup is that we pretty much use Serena for a sleep bot. We use Overheat occasionally. I think we use Fire Spin occasionally as well. But mostly, it's just using Sycamore here with his sync move effect of raising speed, special attack, and special defense, as well as his gauge acceleration on trainer move and whatnot, just being a overall good support, plus the Team Sharp Entry 1. To boost Red and his damage, as well as Red having Propulsion, which is very good in conjunction with the Sleep from Serena, which is also very, very good. So you can have that double, pretty much, not really turn denial, but like extra sync countdown, right, if you ever need it. And that's probably the best part about it, realistically. See, that Propulsion leads us to get Professor Sycamore's nuke pretty fast. Or not nuke. He's got a great nuke, trust me. I can't wait for Sycamore to get the Striker EX roll. Anyway, I digress. We use that to boost Red's damage, and then we just pretty much use Serena here for the fire and main character theme skill, and just making it so Caitlyn can't move, essentially, right? My Red is 2 out of 5 with no EX, and obviously Blast Burn just tends to not have any method at all to boosting its damage. So we just straight up make it so the enemy can't move. We just spam Hypnosis because of her accuracy buffs and whatnot, and just go to town. That's literally it. That's all this entire setup is, and you just really don't have to worry about it too much. She does have +1 crit from Sycamore's Team Sharp Entry, as well as the +6 special attack, meaning if you do actually manage to land an overheat or something, it can do some solid damage if you land a crit, which is actually how we finish off the middle here, so that was, you know, very good for us there. But other than that, it's really just Red using his Sync move and Blast Burns in order to do real damage. Heat Wave if we want to do, you know, AoE and whatnot. We go ahead and go for Sycamore's Moon Blast there, and then we use the Overheat. And we KO the Sigilith because of that, or Sigil, rather, Sigilith, in order to KO it with that Overheat, which is actually pretty good, right? 4,000 damage, 4,500 damage, rather. Not bad at all, honestly. Then we go ahead and go for the Blast Burns on the Frillish and the Xatu, and you just, again, you're spamming Hypnosis, so the enemy just infinitely sleeps, and then they just don't get to move, right? So we go ahead and land ourselves that Blast Burn, use Red Sync Nuke, and then we pretty much just finish it off with our next Blast Burn. Again, it's just making it so the enemy can't move. That's the only thing you really ever need here. It's just making it so they can't move. That's it. There we go. Go for the final Blast Burn after that Hypnosis, and, you know, goodbye. Realistically speaking, how many actions, or not actions, but how many attacks landed on this team? Was it, what, maybe 2? Only 1, maybe? I don't even know. That's the big thing with Serena, is that she can be used for an AoE sleep bot. It's kind of like, you know, Anniversary Skyla with her AoE flinches, or, you know, Cygnus Cyrus with his type of sleep abilities, right? Except, obviously, she was, you know, 2.5 years ago, so, I mean, definitely a lot older character, and definitely a lot more, you know, impactful on the meta back then, since it was pretty unique to her, right? So, that was very, very interesting and very unique, and still really good of an ability to this day, right? Again, Serena's biggest abilities is her sleep bot and whatnot, but she does do solid enough damage on her nuke with the sleep active, as well as having pretty solid damage on her overheats just from having trap activated, which you'll see in a bit once we go into the legendary arenas. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, here we are versus Azelf. This is like pretty much just another case of using Serena as a sleep bot. I feel like in conjunction with the high score event, a lot of the stuff and restrictions that are in the stadium can apply to the high score event, but they also don't at the same time. Such, for example, and also having, you know, different conditions, right? So, like, if we think about the Fire high score event, one stage will have no rules, and so therefore pretty much the only rules are that you can only have, like, one batch of sleep before the enemy will have mitigation to it, and then you can obviously trap them and whatnot, but other than that, those are pretty much your only, like, real restrictions outside of the general restrictions, like, you know, strikers take extra damage, sync nukes do minimal damage, etc., right? So realistically, I feel Serena could be valuable in the event, mostly for the fact that, like, her sleep for one turn of turn denial could be vital, but also in the fact that, like, you can set trap with her and just use her for overheat damage. Or you can take a more utility approach with her Fire Spin, which has the Mind Game's ability in her grid, and you can use that for special defense debuffing and helping out another character. And again, overheat damage is not too bad, so you can make full use of that, right? Just make sure you have to have the ability to max her crit. That's all she really needs, is a support to buff her crit, and a lot of characters can do that. For example, you got Tina, who's a 4-star support, as well as Signasu Mei, who's a tech character, right? Not too bad of options to run, right? Especially because they're both techs, so you can kind of probably try and run them in the stage where the enemies have extra damage on strikers, so you want to use techs for your damage. It's not a bad idea, right? I think that's overall probably Serena's biggest usage in the high score event, and I'm kind of just voicing over it while we obliterate Yuxi here. Mostly, again, just using Serena to put it to sleep. That's literally it, so don't really worry too much about what else we're doing here. Anyway, so yeah, it's pretty much the only goal with Serena is to just sleep here for Azelf. Back to the high score event, she's got a lot of stuff, especially in her grid as well. You can definitely make an argument for that. Again, she's got the Mind Games 4 on Fire Spin for the 50% chance of special defense dropping, right? As well as having Poke Trap if you want to do extra damage that way. And of course, activating her overheat damage multipliers. And I'm pretty sure in her passive skills, she has a Stat Leech. That's not a bad amount. 50% chance of lowering one of the target's stats at random when the user's attack move is successful. Attack, defense, whatever, and then raises her stat by the same amount. So, you know, you can get some solid buffs from that. Not bad, right? Not a bad deal. So, hey. Debuffing is very good for the Legendary Gauntlet, of course, not Legendary Gauntlet, the Fire High Score event. And, of course, obviously having her one turn of sleep, her solid enough overheat damage, right? Not a bad deal, I would say. Nothing crazy. But if you are going to probably make use of her sleep, or rather her nuke, I would probably recommend you to use your sleep right before using her nuke and then nuking, because after that, obviously, the sleep is going to be mitigated for a while. I don't know how resilience works when it comes to different status conditions and status changes. I don't know how it works. But basically, if you can put the enemy to sleep and then be able to trap them, it's good. But if you can only choose between trap and sleep, probably going to be more consistent to go for trap, just for the overheat damage, realistically speaking. Anyway, yeah, that was Serena using just sleep spam against Yuxi here. Not Yuxi, Azelf. Let's go ahead and face Tapu Bulu, where we do a little bit more of her own DPS. Not her nuke, but her DPS. Alright, here we are versus Tapu Bulu. We've got Special Costume Jasmine as well as Blaine. We're going to be using Blaine's nuke here to do some damage, as well as using Serena here for our main form of DPS, because I'm not relying on Blaine. Special Costume Jasmine's obviously great for buffing Serena. She buffs the special attack as well as buffing the crit, as well as having special defense debuffs and relatively decent gauge sufficiency for herself with her Absorb. So that's very, very good there. Blaine, he benefits from the crit buffs from Jasmine and has his own trainer move to buff his attack. Works out pretty well, right? This one more so highlights Serena's ability to do damage, I would say. Probably, her damage is fine, I would say. It ramps up towards the end for the most part, right? We go ahead and use, I said that twice. We use Jasmine's sync move here for the support EX, and that's when we can really start expecting a decent amount of damage, right? But we also use Serena a little bit for the spam with Hypnosis, just to, you know, get some turn denial and whatnot. Plus, with the trap and the sleep, so you got good Nightmare, you've got stationary target, you know, about 6,000 damage with no sun against the Tapu Bulu. I think that's pretty good damage, right? 4,000 there. I think that's pretty good. Honestly speaking, I think that is probably pretty good. Because we do have to save Blaine's sun for when he's about to use his nuke. And we kind of just build up to that here, where we go ahead and use the sun, put Tapu Bulu to sleep, and then we try and damage it down to its next bar, so we can have Blaine's nuke ready for the second bar. And as you can see, with the sun, 10,000 damage on a sleeping Tapu Bulu. At least I think it was sleeping, right? So that's pretty good, I would say. That's pretty good. So we go for the overheat here, and we use the fire spin on the Bulu, and we go for the Hypnosis just to get some turn denial in. So even if you are focusing on DPS, you can still make full use of the Hypnosis spam if you really want to. It's not like you're limited or anything. So, hey, it works out, right? And then Jasmine's there just taking hits and whatnot. So, hey, it works out for us. We go ahead and use Blaine's nuke. Sadly, it does not crit here, but it still does decent damage. 10,000, it's about a fourth of the bar. It's good enough, I would say. 7,000 damage after the, you know, boost from the sync nuke, or sync buff, rather. So, not too bad damage, right? Not too bad without having the sleep activated. It's pretty good, I'd say. Pretty good. We go ahead and set up the sun again for the next nuke with Blaine, as well as using the overheat here for our damage, so we can build up faster to using our actual nuke with Blaine here, and finishing off this Bulu. And we start doing some pretty good damage, right? We still have the trap up and now the sun. 11,000 damage. Very, very good. I think here, yeah, we don't go for anything because we want to get Blaine's nuke up as fast as we can. So we have to go for the fire spin. Sadly, I did not. I didn't think that the overheat from Serena would KO. I really did not. But hey, it worked out. Go for the Hypnosis to get turn denial in, because I don't think sun would have lasted otherwise. Go ahead and use Blaine's nuke. It does crit this time, right? Which is actually very abnormal. Very surprising, right? 24,000 damage, pretty good damage. And pretty sure, yeah, Bulu's still asleep. Sun goes out, but still 11,000 damage. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. So, hey, you can get some pretty good numbers out of Serena. Just under the right conditions. Have, you know, not sleep, rather. But if you have the trap and the sun, that is her biggest form of damage. And it can do some pretty good numbers, I would say. It does pretty well, I'd say. And getting sun in the Fire High Score event is actually surprisingly not that bad. There are 2 fights in which the enemies have either no fire moves or next to no fire moves, and their sync moves are even fire. So you can make full abuse of Serena in those stages. I'm pretty sure, if I remember, one of them may be Kiawe and one of them may be someone else. I don't remember. I don't quite remember the exact details of it, but you can make abuse of Serena in those stages because they don't really use any fire moves, right? So yeah, that's very good. Yeah, if we face Flannery, she's a rock character, and if you face, I'm looking at it right now. I think it is Kiawe. Yeah, if you face Kiawe, he's a ghost attacker with ghost moves, psychic, and steel and stuff like that. So you don't have to worry about using fire, right? Or getting hit with fire, rather. So you can make full abuse of sun in those stages. And Kiawe's multiplier is reducing damage from strikers, reducing strikers, as well as having Flannery reducing damage of sync moves. So Serena could actually do pretty good in those stages. Think about it. Anyway, yeah, I'll see y'all later. I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Serena and Delphox in the comments below. I think they're pretty good relative to their age, especially. And yeah, I'm very excited for the grid expansion in the future. Still a very, very good option for fire stages and probably going to be pretty helpful in the fire high score event. Maybe not the best because of the sleep abuse not being a thing, but still, whatever. I'll see y'all later. I hope y'all enjoyed.